So you want to be a serious Jew, but you don't know what are the most important things to know? Well, we're here to tell you. Hi, everybody. Hey, Rabbi.
Hey, Rabbi David. All right.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. Always
Awesome.
great when I get to do this program with you.
I
All right.
am really,
Challenging.
yes, I
Challenging.
am really, really excited about today's. I'm really excited about today's. Do you want to tell people what we're what we're talking about? And
Sure.
yeah,
Sure. So, the three things you have to know to be a serious Jew. And let's just say that the attempt to reduce our tradition into easy bites is not easy, nor is it uncommon. All right. We can go all
mm,
the way back to Rabbi Hillel. All right. Do unto others as you would have them
yeah.
do unto you. All
Al
the rest is
regalachat.
commentary,
Yeah.
standing on one foot. Um, that's not. I mean that we've got a long history of that, and we have Maimonides. He doesn't really reduce it down to three, but he reduces it down to 13 principles. You know, it's not an uncommon historical idea. And even the idea of sets of three are
Mm.
very common in Judaism. And in preparing for this, it was probably going to be too easy to say the well-known phrase "Al shlosha devarim ha'olam omed," on three things the world stands: Al
I
haTorah
didn't
ve'al
even think
ha'avodah.
about that one. I
What do you mean you didn't think about
I
that
did.
one?
I literally didn't even think about that. I'm so embarrassed. That's the
On
obvious one. I could have
Torah,
just yeah.
on worship, and on acts of loving kindness. But I don't think it necessarily answers the question. I think when we conceived the idea, we didn't think fully through this, because otherwise I would have left off the word the. Okay, the three things you have to know to be a
Oh,
serious Jew
right.
suggests that, all right, that these
These
are
are
it.
it. Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that you and I are not going to say the same three things, um, but rather just to be able to say that there are three things that represent both the fundamentals of Judaism. But for me, in trying to put this together, I wanted things that reflected larger or broader values in Judaism. There's no way that we're going to be able to encompass everything into, even if there are six of them, three
Right.
for me, three for you. But rather, for us to be serious Jews, what are some of the basic concepts that we need to hit on before we dig even deeper and discover the richness of Jewish tradition, and not um, constrain us to only three.
You know what
So
else? It dawned on me as you were just introducing this is even what does serious Jew mean?
right.
Is a loaded phrase. When I do weddings, excuse me, and we talk about the adim, the witnesses who are going to sign the ketubah. What I tell my couples is that your witnesses need to be, Jewish, not related to you in any way, shape, or form, and serious Jews as you define it. And I'm very explicit with them. I say, I'm not going to tell you what a serious Jew is. I want you to decide what that means for you, and then for you to determine are your witnesses, which of your friends or whatever fall into that category. So even
Yeah.
using the phrase serious Jew is probably loaded in many ways.
Yeah, I thought about that. For me, being a serious Jew is taking Judaism seriously.
Mm,
Not serious versus having a good time, because I think there is great joy in Judaism, but rather that we look at our tradition, we look at our history, we look at our literature, we look at our community, and we take all of those things seriously as a part of our own lives. If Judaism is nothing more than the way we think about going to the mall every so often, that's not.
Right.
Then we're not taking the richness of Judaism and Jewish life seriously.
But
So
seriously also doesn't mean good. That is to say, being a serious Jew doesn't make you a good Jew. And you know, so I at least was very conscious of not trying to say, if you don't know or do any of these three things, that means somehow you're not a good Jew. That's not the suggestion at all. And I'm with you 100%. We should have left the out of the
yeah,
title.
okay,
100%.
we're going to
Okay.
scratch that.
All right, we'll scratch
Three
that. All right,
things you have to know to be a serious Jew.
three
Okay.
things. All right, so I'm going to let you go first. Now, I should say, by the way, to everyone that we did hear each other's list, but we really didn't have time to contemplate it. Rabbi shared his with me a little earlier. I copied and pasted it in so you all could see it, but I did not pay attention, I promise. Like most of the time when the rabbi speaks, I really didn't pay
That's
attention.
beautiful.
So isn't
Thank
that
you.
nice? Okay.
This will be the
So,
last time Rabbi David will be with us.
all right. So Rabbi Litwak,
All right.
I'm going to leave it to you to share your three things.
All right. So are we putting one at a time, correct?
I'll do one at a time. You got it.
All right, here we go. We're going to start with Shabbat. All right, now Shabbat, it feels so like obvious, Shabbat, but in this case, when I thought about this, it really wasn't simply the observance of a holiday, but rather that Shabbat, at its core, teaches us so much about Judaism and Jewish life. This is one of the ones where I think it represents broader, larger values within Judaism. So Shabbat teaches us the notion of sacred time. All right, and from that we can, of course, draw inference to all holidays. We're going to talk about sacred times in another again in my number two, but the idea that we designate sacred time, and that in doing that we exert some control over our destiny. That Shabbat requires of us to change our behavior. Right? And I'm not talking about, okay, not doing this, not doing that, although those can be a part of the Shabbat umbrella. But if traditionally we believe that one isn't supposed to create, okay, because you're supposed to rest, what about somebody who creates in order to rest? Right? For me, creating a really great meal is very restful. It does something completely different. It's completely different than what I do the rest of the week. So occasionally I'll come home from Shabbat services, I'll take my nap, and then I'll spend the afternoon and into the evening cooking a wonderful meal for my family or for friends. Is that halachically Shabbistic? No. But for me, it is, because it helps me change my behavior from the rest of the week. I also think that Shabbat is there to remind us that we emulate God, that just as God rested, so we should rest. And then finally, I think that Shabbat is a reminder that we have to care for those around us. The Shabbat commandments are not simply you shall observe Shabbat, right? But you, and in this case we recognize it's masculine focus, you, your wife, your daughter and son, your servants and your animals with you, okay? That we treat everyone equally on Shabbat. Doesn't matter whether you're a servant, whether you are a work animal, or you're the head of the household, that all of us get the chance to rest. So there's Shabbat. Right? That's number one. Number two, right, what I would call Kedusha, or holiness. And most of us think about Kedusha and we think about spirituality, we think about prayer. But for me, Kedusha is the fundamental belief that our world is not our own to do with it what we please, but that we have a responsibility to treasure life. And the word Kedusha, holiness, has many iterations within Hebrew. So I want to look at both the word Kedusha and three other words that are connected in their root. So Kedusha, I think, is a reflection of our attitude towards life. We proclaim God's holiness through our actions, right? That we live a holy life by way of the doing what God asks us to do, right? Then you have Kiddush, right? What is Kiddush? All right, Kiddush is that blessing over the wine. And when do we do Kiddush? We do it at the beginning of Shabbat, or for that matter, any holiday. And reciting Kiddush brings us into that holy time and into sacred moments. We do Kiddush around life cycle events. So not just Shabbat as separating, but that when we have these, we elevate them through an act of holiness. Kiddushin. Okay, the word kiddushin is the word we use for marriage. Right? What makes a marriage holy? When I meet with couples, I ask the groom, "Do you have female friends?" I ask the bride, "Do you have male friends?" And of course, they say yes. And then I say, "Well, I would hope that the relationship that you have with them is quantifiably different than the relationship that you have with each other." That is to say, Kiddushin is about making distinctions, making separations. Right? The relationship I have with my wife is different than the relationship that I have with any other person. Right? Finally, we have Kaddish, right? Kaddish, that we so often, there's actually 5 Kaddishes, but in this case, I'm thinking about Kaddish Yatom, mourner's Kaddish, that we say Kaddish not only as a reminder of the sanctity of life and the sanctity of God, but that we recite it within a minyan. That holiness is found in community. So that's our second one, holiness. Right? Our third one, right? One that people might not necessarily know, shivem panim la Torah. Right? What is shivem panim la Torah? It is the idea that there are 70 shivem panim, faces, la Torah, to the Torah. 70 faces to the Torah. And this, first and foremost, teaches us, of course, that we have a system by which we live our lives called Torah. Right? And I'm not just speaking about Torah as in the 5 books of Moses, but rather the idea that all Jewish knowledge is Torah. And when we think about the success of Jewish survival, I think it's directly linked to the fact that we have that our religion is portable, right? That Torah knowledge, right, can go with us wherever we go. That when we got kicked out of one country or another, we brought Torah with us. Right? We don't venerate a particular place, but we venerate ideas, and that those ideas travel across geography and across time. Right? And yet those ideas were not monolithic. They reflect a diversity and even influence from the non-Jewish communities that we found ourselves in. The idea of shivem panim la Torah comes out of rabbinic literature, and it emphasizes the point that there are multiple ways in which the Torah can be interpreted. Okay? Now, for many religious communities or individuals, Christian, Muslim, even Jewish, the literal meaning of the Bible, whatever Bible it is the direct word of God. And any suggestion that the Bible could be interpreted in various ways undermines their trust in it. And Judaism just has a different view. Right? Judaism believes in differing opinions. Right? We study, right, at our best in chevruta, in pairs or in small groups, because we believe that our ideas are sharpened, right, when we are in the presence of others. Right? That there's my favorite named rabbi in all of the Talmud, Rabbi Ben Bagbag. Rabbi Ben Bagbag in Masachet Avot says, "Hafoch ba v'hafoch ba dekule ba." Turn it over and turn it over again, for all of it is within it. Okay? And I think that in that phrase, okay, that it reflects the inherently multivocality of the Torah, that there are different ways that we can understand Torah. I would just, to finish up, I think that shivem panim la Torah also is a recognition that there are others, that there is community, that we are strengthened by difference. The community is not monolithic. We are better when we have lots of different voices coming together and sharing those. Shabbat, Kedusha, and shivem panim la Torah.
Love it. Love it. All right. So mine, well, I'll just jump into it. So my first one is, where'd it go? Come back. Come back. Here it comes. Hold on. It's coming. Why is it taking so long? Okay. We're getting yours again. Sorry. All right. Is it going to work this time? No, it's not. Of course not. Let me bring it up again. Hold on a second. All right. So here we go. Now it's going to work. All right. Sorry about that. My first one is right shoe, left shoe. So in the Shulchan Aruch, which is the code of Jewish law, there is a rule about how you should put your shoes on. You should put your right shoe on first, then your left shoe, then you should tie your left shoe, then you should tie your right shoe. Unless you're left-handed, in which case you should tie your right shoe and then tie your left shoe. Here's why this is important. Because Judaism is about the little things. Judaism is about tying your shoes. It's not about Mount Sinai's. It's not about splitting seas. It's about all the little things that we do, that we can do, that we struggle with, all the way down to how you put your shoes on. Now, I'm not suggesting that we should all put our shoes on in a certain way, but for me, thinking about Judaism as an experience that touches every aspect of my life, even the littlest things is profoundly important. If I were to live my life waiting around for, the big miraculous moments, I might have one or two. Well, I've had 4 kids, so 4. I might have 4, but it's those little things. It's the everyday things. It's how I put my shoes on. And if I can look at the world and those little things through those Jewish lenses, those Jewish glasses, that to me is really, really important. So that's number 1. Number 2 is na'aseh v'nishma, or as Nike says, just do it. Just do it, right? When the Israelites got the Torah from Mount Sinai, we had all these laws, 613. What did we say? We didn't say, let's see, what does law number 1 say? What is that? We just said, okay, we'll do it. We don't really understand what we're doing or why we're doing it, but we're going to do it because we understand that a deeper appreciation for all of this stuff, for the meaning behind it, can only come through doing. I grew up, I didn't grow up this way, but I found my way into a very Orthodox world in high school. I was I had a little payas, and I davened at the Agudas Yisrael, which is a very, very traditional Orthodox community. I learned at Esha Torah, and I celebrated Shabbat in a very traditional way, tearing the toilet paper, the whole 9 yards. And one of the things that I learned, and I don't do that anymore, and I don't suggest that anyone else should do that unless they find it meaningful. But I will say that until you've done that, you don't really fully appreciate Shabbat. Until you've until you've done it and really done it, not just, abstain from checking Facebook on your phone, but really gone all in, you can't appreciate the beauty of it. So prayer's hard. That can't be an excuse for us as Jews to not do it because it's hard, because it's challenging. Shabbat is hard. All of these things, life is hard. That is not an excuse to not do something. Do it, and only later will you come to appreciate it. And finally, bless me or curse me. Okay. When I was a kid growing up, I was at Brith Shalom Knesset Israel in St. Louis, Missouri. And we had, I can't remember the name of the prayer book. It wasn't one of the official conservative or reform. It wasn't Sim Shalom. It wasn't Gates of Prayer. It was one of those other, and there was a blue version for Friday night and a red version for Saturday morning. I can't remember. I think it was called Likrat Shabbat, actually, was the name of the prayer book. In any case, in that prayer book, there was a reading that we would read every Friday night. And I only remember the first 2.5 lines, but I've never forgotten them. And the lines are, bless me or curse me, says God, and I'll know that you love me. Wait, that's not how it starts. How does it start? Bless me, says God, and I'll know that you love me. Curse me, says God, and I'll know that you love me. Bless me or curse me, says God, and I'll know that you love me. But if you look at the stars and yawn, and I don't remember the rest. That reading, bless me or curse me, that gave me permission to sometimes, maybe hate is the wrong word, but get really angry at God, was liberating. It was absolutely liberating for me that my job, my responsibility as a Jew is not to always love God. That it's okay for me to curse God. It's okay for me to be angry. It's okay for me to not understand. It's okay for me to vocalize that, to say that out loud. It's okay for me to sometimes, I'll use the word hate, to hate God. And here's why it's okay. And this is my interpretation of that little poem or that prayer, is that if I don't care about you, then I'm not going to expend the energy to be angry at you. Right? I'm going to expend energy to either show you love or show you anger only if you matter to me. And so an expression of anger at God is an expression of us caring about God. It's an expression of love. Even the anger, even the cursing is an expression of the fact that we are in relationship. And so if I had to jump and say, what's my third big idea? It would be relationships don't have to be good. They have to be relationships. And sometimes they're messy, and sometimes that means I'm going to curse and I'm going to be angry and frustrated and want to walk away, but not because of the relationship. Right shoe, left shoe, it's all about the small stuff. Na'aseh v'nishma, stop kvetching and just do it, and then make a decision about whether it feels meaningful in your life. And bless me or curse me, it's okay to get angry at God. Who's right, me or Rabbi Litwak? What do you think, Rabbi Litwak? Not about who's right. Not about who's right. But any reflections on mine, and then I'll reflect on yours?
So it's interesting because I totally get the Na'aseh v'nishma. Sometimes I think we particularly within the Reform movement, who believed in understanding, learning before doing, that sometimes we get caught up in the learning and we never get to the doing, and that in doing it, we come to appreciate it and understand it. But I go back and forth on that one. I like the idea that there is detail in Judaism, but I don't want to lose the forest for the trees. I will never forget my mother coming to visit me in Israel my junior year abroad, right around Sukkot, and she and I walked down to Mea Sharim and watched the men with their jewelers' loops, okay, staring at
Lulav?
the
Or the etrog?
lulav.
Yeah.
Well, the lulavim, to make sure that there wasn't too much of a split. And I thought, is that really what God wants?
See, and I love that. To me, that is so beautiful. That attention to detail, that stuff matters, is so profoundly beautiful to me.
Yeah, but how can that be? If that's what Judaism is about, versus the bigger ideas, okay, of, let's take the lulav and etrog, that we're creating sacred space all around us, or that we are looking around us and saying, look at the bounty that God has given us in all directions. Okay, versus, oh my God, my lulav is split.
So I'll tell you why. Because in the movie Ushpizin, since we're talking about Sukkot here, and Lulav and Etrog, in the movie Ushpizin, there's a great scene where the husband comes home and they're sitting at the table and they don't have any money, and he says, "Oh, I learned this great teaching today that says if you don't get what you want, it's because you didn't pray hard enough." And so then the wife looks at him and says, "Nu diburim v'diburim v'diburim." Like, why are you just sitting here talking about it? Fine. So if that's the case, go pray. It is too easy to get lost in big ideas. It's too easy for big ideas to remain ideas instead of actionable things. And so for me, I think I would agree with you that if all I do is, inspect the tip of the lulav, that clearly is not what God wants, and it's not going to do me a lot of good either. But if I do that, and then I also, whatever the next thing, pay attention, make sure that there's no chip in any letter of the Torah. And then if I keep doing all of those things, then the big idea of pay attention doesn't, there's no risk of that getting lost. Because for me, and maybe this is just my kind of behavior style, if I'm not on it, if it's not in my calendar, big ideas just flow right out the window. I need actionable things. So for me, that's
I'm
why.
with you on that.
Yeah,
I think you're right. We can think about love and peace and harmony and all of that, and those are all wonderful things. Nobody would disagree with them. But you're right. If we don't bring it down into an actionable item, I just let's split the difference and
fair
find.
enough.
I think our strength would be in the balance of both the larger picture ideas that are together with specific
Yeah.
actionable items.
I
So,
want to ask you something about shivem panim Torah. So I'm
mhm,
all for diversity.
mhm.
Absolutely. I'm all for everyone believing whatever, not whatever they want, but well, yeah, I guess whatever they want. I'm all for that. I worry sometimes about the fracturing that can happen, about the divisions that can exist when, I don't know about saying we're too accepting of diverse opinions, but I mean, I'll just give you an example, right? So would you consider Messianic Judaism one of the shivim panim Torah?
So, so in this case, I don't think shivim panim la Torah means that anything goes.
Okay.
Right? It says that there are 70. It doesn't say
There are
infinite.
infinite, yeah.
Right? That 70 is a big number, and therefore has the ability to encompass a lot. Okay? But even in those 70, I don't think that it says that they're all equal. I think that there is value in all of them because what we know now may be different than what we know in the future. And there are individuals whose ideas, whose understandings of Torah were far beyond, right, where the community was at that point in life. And so if we say this is the only way, then we are threatened by monolithic Judaism, and eventually that will become. I mean, if the only way was to do sacrifices, if the only way to understand Torah, right, is the literal word, right, that we are slogging through and will be slogging through in Leviticus and Numbers, right, sayonara,
Right.
right? We're not going to be around, right? But if there are ideas that we hold onto, right, for maybe a later point, right, or to come back to reflect on, or to recognize that what works here may not work here, right, and be okay with that vocality, multivocal nature of Judaism, then I think there's strength in it. Not everything goes.
Right.
And I
Right.
think there are things that take us out of the pale.
All right. And then
Right?
the
And what
question
you may
becomes,
think and what I may think are out of the pale may be different.
that's what I was
Right?
just going
I
to
get
say.
that.
Right. Yeah. That's challenging also. Who gets to
Yeah.
decide what's in and outside of the pale? I would be willing to. Me, I love it. I love it. I would be willing to bet that I'm speaking on behalf of the rabbi here when we say we would love to hear what your three things are. If you have your own three things that, again, we're taking the word "the" off, so it's not; these are not
Yeah.
the three things. But if you have three things that you think are just fundamental to your Judaism, put those in the comments, put those in the chat, share them with us, email us, however you want to do it. We'd love, love, love to hear what you think as well. Anything exciting coming up, Rabbi Litwak, that we should let people know about
Hey, I
other
think we
than
should.
every day?
We should be starting to talk about Purim because
Oh, yeah.
we are several weeks away, but we should be gearing up March 18th, if not
No.
March
Is it the 16th?
16th. Oops.
I don't remember. I'm looking it up right now. Yeah, it's the 16th.
Holy smokes. March 16th. Right. The Masked Esther. We are excited about this since, there we go, since the whole story of Esther is about hiding your identity. We have 5 characters in the Purim story. They're all dressing up as Esther. So imagine somebody dressing up, somebody who is Ahasuerus or Haman dressing up as Esther. We're going to be singing some original Rabbi David songs. They're going to be great. So I want to give you all the credit.
Okay.
And you're going to have to figure out who is the real Esther. So come and join us live on March 16th, and we'll also be online, but we'd love to have you.
Yeah, come live.
Here.
Definitely come. I mean, the whole thing is live. The whole thing is live, but
Right.
definitely come and be with us. All right, my friends. So I think we're good. Yeah.
See y'all later.
We will see everyone in 2 weeks, and before then at Shabbat, online, in the sanctuary, and everywhere else. Have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.